and welcome to episode 32 of the Catherine Crochets podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Catherine. I'm a crochet designer from South London in the UK, and this is my podcast where I like to talk about all the recent crochet projects I've been working on and also a little bit of knitting as well. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back if you've been here before, and a big welcome if this is your first time tuning in as well. I hope you enjoy hearing about the projects I've been working on. Just a little bit of admin, I'll pop links to everything in the description underneath to all the patterns I mentioned, so if you want to check any of them out, just have a look in the bar underneath. There'll also be a link to my email list if you want to sign up, and links to other places where you can find me on social media if you're interested. So when I was getting ready to film this podcast, I thought I only had 2 or 3 projects to share. But as I've been getting them all together, I realise I've actually been quite busy over the last few weeks, and I've got 6 or 7 crochet projects to share with you today. You'll see why it's an or later on, because the last one I haven't actually got with me anymore, and I'll explain that when we get to it. And I've also got a little update on a knitting project as well. So that's quite a bit, so we probably better just dive in, and I'll fill you in on any life bits and things, pieces as we go along. So the first project, I was going to check, but I think this was finished last time in the last podcast. So you've seen this before, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but this is the Maltings shawl. And the reason I'm sharing it again is because since the last podcast, the pattern has now been released. So that's the only really news on that one, because like I say, I had finished it before, so I won't get into too much detail, except for if you've not seen it, it's a large triangular shawl. This bit, the main section, is really easy to work up, and it's sort of quite a cozy ribbed textured section. I'm not sure if that's coming up really, you can see a bit more here. Not sure how well you can see it, but yeah, I think you can. And then the last bit is this leafy border, which is made with overlay crochet, and then it's got this picot edging to finish off, so it makes a really warm, snuggly shawl. It's made with a DK weight wool yarn, so it's really warm and lovely. And yeah, the pattern, the news is that the pattern is now available on Etsy and Ravelry and Love Crafts, and it's also soon going to be available on the hobby website as well, where it will be translated into various other European languages. So if you're interested in getting it in, I'm not sure exactly what the languages are, but if you're interested in getting it in another European language, then not yet, but in the next few weeks it will be available in other languages there as well. So have a look on hobby if you're interested. But yeah, I was really pleased with how this turned out. The pattern's been fully tested. It's obviously coming into summer now, not that you'd know it from the weather here, but it is June. So I probably won't be wearing this too much over the next few months, but looking forward to keeping it and then getting it out in the autumn so that I can wear it. Yeah, so that's the Maltings shawl. I'll take it off because it is quite cozy. So that was a quick one, and like I say, I've talked about it quite a bit more in other episodes, the last couple of episodes I think. So if you missed those and you'd like a bit more detail about it, then just head back and have a look in those episodes. Then the next project is another finished project. Last time this wasn't quite finished. This is a bag that I was designing for the Hobby Yarn Company, and it's called the Limelight bag, and it's made out of these solid tapestry crochet granny squares. It's made with, I should have checked, Tweed Dreams, which is, they say it's a DK weight yarn, but to me it's definitely more like Aran. It's really quite a thick yarn, and the recommended hook size I think was a 5 or a 5.5 millimeter, which is quite large for a DK yarn. So I say this in the pattern, and I've been saying it to my testers as well. If you were going to swap for another yarn, I'd suggest going for an Aran yarn instead of a DK yarn, because although this one is supposedly DK, it's definitely a really thick DK. But yeah, so this is being tested at the moment, and I'm hoping to release the pattern at the end of the month. And I'm going to give this, I'm not going to say exactly what I'm going to do, but it's going to be a really special deal, say, for my email list subscribers. So if you want to get this at a really, really great rate, then do sign up to my email list, and the pattern will be, you'll get an email at the end of the month when the pattern's released with details of how to get that special offer on it, just for a very short time for my email list subscribers. But otherwise it will be available to buy elsewhere in all the usual places. So yeah, so this is being tested at the moment by my testers, and yeah, it's really nice seeing it worked up in other colours. As always, that's one of the most exciting parts of having a pattern made. I'm whizzing through these projects today. I feel like there's not too much to say about them. I spoke about this one as well last time as well, and how much I like the yarn and that sort of thing. So I don't really want to repeat myself and say all the same things all over again, because that would be a bit boring for those of you who did see the last episode. So as what I just said about the shawl, if you want to know more about the yarn and things like that for this bag, then do have a look back in the previous episode. But that's the Limelight bag, which was finished off and will be coming very soon. I've got a bit of fluff on my nose, it's itchy. Right, next one. So after those two projects, which I've shown you before, I think everything else is new. So the next project I made in just a few days, and so for those of you who've been watching other episodes this year, you'll know that this year is a bit of a stash busting year for me. I've decided I really want to focus on trying to use up yarn that I've got in my stash that I'm not getting through. I've given away quite a bit of it, but I've still got quite a lot that I just want to use, because it's like odd bits in lots of different colours, some of it, and it's not enough for a single project. It depends on the project, but I just want to try and find ways to use it up. So one suggestion I got was to make a scrap yarn basket, and I did that. I made this basket with a whole range. It's all paint box cotton DK yarn, which I had in loads of different colours, but none of which seemed to really go together in a project. But then when you put them all together like this in a basket, I do think they actually go together quite well. So I held, I can't remember now, let me just look. 1, 2, 5, I think. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 5 strands of cotton yarn together. Can't remember what hook size I used either. And just followed the pattern. It was called the Scrap Yarn Basket. It's a free pattern by Cintia Gonzalez, and it's on Ravelry, and I'll pop a link to it below if you want to make one yourself. My bag, I've got stuff in it to sort of, so it can keep its shape, but it's not a bag, is it? My basket is a tiny bit floppy. If I'd gone down a smaller hook size, it would have been stiffer and probably would have stood up by itself. But once it's got, I'm using it to store yarn and project bags and things like that. So once it's got stuff in it, it does stand up fine. I'm quite happy with it. But if I'd wanted it to be stiffer, I think I would have had to, well, I would have had to have gone down a hook size. And I did get some comments from people who said they tried this sort of thing and found it, and I saw other comments on Ravelry saying it was really hard work getting the hook through the stitches, because this is all UK double crochet or US single crochet, so it's quite tight. So I think it is quite hard work if you want to get it really stiff, just getting your hook through all those stitches all the time, but mine isn't massively tight. I mean, it's fine, but that made it easier to work up. And then when I finished with one colour of yarn as well, I just joined it the next colour using the magic knot, so there was no ends to weave in apart from right at the start and right at the end. So it was really fun and easy, and like I say, this just worked up in a few days, and I just like how the colours sort of change as you go up the basket. So I'm really pleased with that, and it used up quite a lot of yarn. I was going to weigh it actually and see how much it was, but I forgot to do that. Maybe I'll do it afterwards and pop it up on the screen. But yeah, really pleased, really fun, and I have still got a bit of other cotton and acrylic yarn in my stash, so I might make another one. My daughters quite like them, so maybe they can get one each as well for putting bits and bobs in. So that was project number three. So that was a scrap yarn basket. Next project I've got to show you is, I mentioned that this was on my list of things to make before in previous episodes, and this is a crochet jumper, which I've started and it's nearly finished. I've finished all the crocheting last night, and I've just got the ends to weave in, and I'm going to block it, and I'm going to try and block it quite heavily because it's actually possibly a little bit smaller than I wanted it to be, so I'm going to see if I can stretch it out a bit. So this is called the Honeysuckle sweater, and it's by Brindle Designs, and it's another free pattern on Ravelry, and I'll pop a link to it. And this was another stash busting project, and you can see I've still got all the ends, but it's just a loose, airy summer crochet top, which I really like. So I made this with King Cole Cotton Soft. Now, as you can see, I have got a whole unused ball of it here, and I've got another ball which I've only just started. Now, I didn't have enough yarn to make the whole jumper. I did have some. I think I had about 4 balls, can't remember, but not quite enough to make the whole thing. Maybe it was just 3 balls and a bit. So I ordered some more, and I wanted to make sure I ordered enough to make the whole thing. And I thought I had ordered the right amount, but obviously I overordered. So this, like I said, this was a stash busting project. So I've used up all the yarn I had, and I've used up a bit of the yarn I bought. I think I bought 4 balls, 3 or 4. This is sounding like quite a lot now. I think my numbers are out, but I definitely, what I've got left is less than what I started with, even though I've bought yarn, but I've still got a bit left over. So I haven't actually reduced my stash by that much, but I do really like the jumper. This is 100% cotton yarn. It's a DK yarn, but it's really soft. And this is exactly the sort of shade of white, off-white, that I wanted it to be. So yeah, it's just, I won't put it on because all the ends aren't woven in yet, and I want to block it. And it is a tiny bit shorter, and it's a bit more fitted, but I think that's probably okay. But it is a tiny bit shorter than what I wanted it to be. So I'm hoping that I might be able to block it and pull it like a bit longer, because there does seem to be a fair amount of stretch in it, if that makes sense. But it is a really pretty, it's really simple, but it's also like really pretty stitch pattern. I did make one adjustment to the pattern, because there are video tutorials which I didn't watch. I just followed the written pattern, and following what was written as I understood it, I ended up with the 2 front panels going off on like a parallelogram on the diagonal. So on, I think it was on the Lacy arrays, I ended up doing 1 fewer stitch at one end and 1 extra stitch at the other end. So if that makes sense. And so each time you got to one of these rows, my work kind of was shifting along, so it ended up as a bit of a parallelogram. So, which it might have all blocked out fine, I don't know, or it might have ended up with a jumper that was twisting, and it's not twisted in the photos, so I think I probably wasn't doing exactly what the designer meant me to do. And like I say, I didn't watch the video tutorials, but from what was written in the written instructions, that I was doing what I understood them to mean, if that makes sense. Anyway, so, but I didn't like this parallelogramming. So after I'd done, the front and back are exactly the same. So after I'd done the front, I worked out a way to make that not happen, so that my stitches were sort of lined up on top of each other instead of going off in one direction. Which, so I think the stitch count in the pattern for all sizes was a even number of stitches per row, and the way I worked, I sort of solved the issue was to do a odd number, or the other way around, one or the other. Anyway, it's the same stitch pattern, it's just I did it slightly different to my understanding of the pattern at the start and end of some of the rows, so that it's straight. And then I frogged the panel that had turned out as a parallelogram. I frogged that and redid it. So now it all sort of lines up properly and straight. So that's not a very good explanation. Maybe I do a Ravelry project page, so maybe I'll explain, if I can remember what I did, I'll explain that on there if anyone wants to know if you're making the pattern yourself, but perhaps something to watch out for. Or maybe if you just watch the video tutorials, like I say, then it would all become clear and it would all be fine anyway. But yeah, really pleased with this. Just a touch smaller than I was hoping for in terms of length, really, but I'm hoping it might block out. So once I've sewn in the ends and blocked it, in the next video I'll show you me wearing it. And then we've just got to hope for a bit of warmer weather, so that I can get a chance to wear it this summer. So yeah, that's the Honeysuckle sweater, which is very nearly finished. And with the rest of this yarn left over, one of my daughters would like me to make her a crochet sort of vest top for the summer. I'm not quite sure whether she wants it like a granny square design or a just made in rows. I'll have a look at a few examples, but she's only 10, so that'll be quite relatively small, so it shouldn't take too long to work up, and hopefully that will be enough to do it without having to buy any more. I think she wants it in white. I hope so. So yeah, but I would recommend this yarn. It's King Cole Cotton Soft, and the colour is just ecru, and I think it is a really good colour for making crochet summer tops with, if you want them obviously in this colour, which is a very nice colour for a summer top. So that was project number 4. Then let me see, yeah, the next project is, what should I do next? I've got 2 options. I'll show you this one because it is finished. It's not a whole project, it was a pattern test. So it's just a small swatch. Can you see the Lacy motif? If I hold it up a bit closer, you can see it a bit better, I think, can't you? So this is a swatch of the Daisy blanket, which is a pattern by Emma C Makes, and it's a pattern that she's sort of revamping, and I think she's made a few small adjustments to it. She's remade it in a new yarn and she's re-releasing it very soon. So I offered to test it for her, and she's going to be filming video tutorials as well. So I think it might be I don't know, a week or so until it comes out. But yeah, I'll pop a link. The tutorials will be over on her YouTube channel, and I'll pop a link to her Instagram as well. So if you want the new pattern when it's released, just make sure you follow her in those places. But it is, if you see, I'll pop up a picture as well of her whole blanket so you can see how the whole thing looks. But it is a really sort of perfect for a baby blanket, really beautiful, vintage looking pattern. I love this lacy section here. It's really simple, but it just looks so beautiful. And then the little flower shapes, the daisies in the main colour here are so pretty as well. So yeah, in the pattern, well, you'll have seen hopefully if I put up a picture, but it's alternating sections of the daisy section and the lace bit, and then she's got a pretty border around the edge as well. So yeah, I would recommend the pattern. It's very clear, well written, and yeah, there's going to be video tutorials as well, so watch out for that when it's released, and that's coming soon. And I did this sample. This uses the same ecru yarn, cotton soft, that I used for the jumper, and then I also had the same yarn in this pale blue colour as well. And Emma recommends using a yarn like cotton or wool as opposed to acrylic for this pattern, so that I haven't blocked this yet, but so that you can block it and really open out the lace work pattern and show it off to its best. So that is the daisy blanket. And then the last crochet project that I have to actually show you today is a new one. Just trying to remember which bag it's in. And this is with a yarn. I'm not sure if it's a brand new yarn, new to me anyway, a yarn from Hobby called Friends Cotton Linen, which they asked if I'd like to try some of it. It's not a challenge to necessarily make a whole pattern or design with, but just to try out the yarn and share my thoughts on it, although I am designing something with it, which I'll show you shortly. So this is, like I said, it's Friends Cotton Linen, and it is 50% cotton, 35% viscose, and 15% linen. It's yarn category 1, super fine, and the recommended hook is 3 to 3.5 millimeters, although it obviously depends what you're making. And all of the yarns in this range, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see it, but they're actually all sort of two-tone. So this one is called, I think you can just about see there, it's called Tomato, well, it's not written on here. It's called something like Tomato Magenta, so it gives it quite a sort of cherry red colour, but you can see it's got a tomatoey red and more of a sort of pinky purpley red colour in there. There's a few other yarns in the range which are made of two quite bold colours like this, and then there's also quite a few which are a kind of ecru colour with a bolder colour. So those ones, the colour sort of the difference in the two colours making up the yarn is much more noticeable, but I really like the sort of subtle difference between the two colours in this yarn. So each ball is 50 grams, yeah, and you get 160 meters, and I got 3 balls of it, and I knew, I'd already decided really when I chose the colour and selected it what I wanted to make with it, which was a sort of a lacy, open, airy crochet wrap to wear sort of in the summer over a dress or top or something like that in the evenings. So something quite pretty, and that you could wear to a sort of relatively smartish dressy occasion. So I had this picture in my head of what I wanted to do, and I had this idea as well that I wanted to make it from small kind of 6-sided motifs, hexagonal motifs, joined together, and I had to play around with some. I made quite a few, but they weren't quite working. So then I thought, well, maybe I should just do it in rows and do like just a long rectangle. So I had to go at a few stitch ideas for that, but nothing was quite grabbing me. And then I went back me to the hexagon idea, and finally I landed on the motif that I want to do it with, which is, so it ends up with these points, so it's more of a star shape than a hexagon. It's not been blocked, it's sort of hard to open it out to really show you how it looks, but hopefully that's probably better up there, isn't it? You can get the idea. Obviously all these ends aren't great for showing it off to its best, but it's, yeah, when it's blocked it'll open out even more, but it's going to be a large sort of starry lacy wrap made of all these little hexagons. So I've only made 5 so far, but I'm quite keen to get cracking and make a bit more with this. And there'll obviously be 2 ends to sew in for each of them, and I'm doing it with a join as you go thing, so the points all join up as you add on each one. So it's, I think I'd quite like making things join as you go, because you see it growing as you make it. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this idea. Really love the colour, and hopefully once it's all finished and blocked and opened out, it will just be a really pretty lacy wrap to wear in the summer. So I'm not sure how, there's no deadline for this. I've got to do a couple more posts on certain dates for hobby showing what I'm making, but there's no deadline for finishing anything. So I'm not sure how long this pattern will take me, but it'll just be something that I keep working on over the summer. I was just looking if I had anything else to tell you about it. I'm using a slightly larger hook than the recommended hook size for the yarn, just because I wanted to keep it, the stitches relatively open and loose. Yeah, but I can't remember what size that is. I think it might be 4mm. Let me have a look. I wrote it down. Yeah, 4mm. So this is something very different to anything I've ever designed before. Most of my designs are tapestry crochet. Then I've done a bit of brioche crochet, overlay crochet, 1 or 2 mosaic crochet actually, but they're all quite solid designs really. I think everything I've ever designed has been quite solid. So designs with so much space in them is something very new, but I'm quite pleased with that. So looking forward to working on that and adding more to it and seeing it grow, and then it'll need a name as well. So that was project number 6, if you're keeping count. Now I said there was a possible 7th, and the reason for that is that it has been completely frogged, and I thought maybe I won't mention it at all, but then I thought, well, why not, because that's what happens sometimes, isn't it, and it's good to share it all. So at the end of May, the last week of May, was the half-term holiday here in the UK. So my girls were off school and we went away on holiday for a few days to Jersey in the Channel Islands. And I took the honeysuckle sweater that I just showed you to work on, but I also wanted another project to bring with me. Something small, something portable, and ideally something stash busting. So I had a look in my stash to think, what do I want to use up next? And I had, well, I'll show you the balls that haven't been used. So I had 6 balls, are they balls, of this yarn called Sublime Sophia. I had 2 in that colour, there you go, which I haven't used. 2 in this colour, one of which I started and the other one hasn't been started. And then I had 2 in this colour, which I used completely and then frogged and have rewound up into a ball. So, and this yarn it's 50 grams in each ball, 110 meters, and it's a DK weight yarn, and it's really lovely. It's 39% bamboo, 31% merino wool and 30% silk, so it's really gorgeous yarn. And I won this couple of years ago nearly, I think, I went to a crochet sanctuary retreat where I was the guest designer for the weekend, where I designed a pattern and had a workshop on the Saturday afternoon where they made it. But we also made other patterns and things at the weekend. And during the weekend they do lots of games, especially bingo, and someone had brought along just one of the guests, I think, very kindly, she brought along a whole load of prizes for the bingo, and I'm pretty sure it was bingo we were playing that I won, and I was very lucky to win. And the prize that well, not the whole bingo, just one of the prizes, there were loads of amazing ones really, and one of them was these 6 balls of, oops, trying to hold them all up at once so you can see them, these 6 balls of this sublime yarn. It's by Sublime Sophia. So like I said, I had 2 in each colour. It's a DK weight yarn, so I had about 220 meters of each colour. So I've been trying to work out what to make with it. This is quite a long story, isn't it? If you're still listening, thank you. So I was having a look on Ravelry I thought maybe I can make a shawl, and I found the Dragon Belly shawl, which is a free pattern by Johanna Lindahl from Crochet. Again, I'll pop a link to it below. I'll put up a picture as well showing you her version of the shawl because it's really lovely. I also saw, complete coincidentally actually, that she is filming a video tutorial of how to make the shawl, which she said will be up on her YouTube channel soon. Might already be up now, so if you want to make one, have a look. So I thought, yeah, I'll go for it. I didn't have quite the recommended amount of yarn, but I thought I'll try it with a big hook and see if that's enough. So I started with these 2 balls and was really enjoying it. It's really nice to work up, but by the time I'd used all of this colour, it definitely wasn't big enough to be a shawl. You start at one corner of the shawl and then you increase on one side, so one side stays straight and the other side you increase, so you can just keep going until it's as big as you want. But by the time I'd used up all of these 2 colours, there was no way it was big enough to be a shawl. So I thought, okay, I've got more of this yarn, I'll try adding in another colour and keep adding them in until it's big enough. And I mean, they don't look bad holding them up like that, but I started adding in this colour, and straight away, although it wasn't a clash, it just didn't look right. I did a few rows and just thought, no, I could keep making it because it was enjoyable to make, but I knew I wouldn't use the shawl because just having those 2 different colours, it wasn't right. So in the end, I decided it would be such a waste of this yarn, which is really lovely, to make a shawl with it and never use it, that I decided to frog the whole thing. So that is why project number 7 doesn't exist. So I'll pop up a picture showing you it with this yarn so you can see what I was making. But yeah, I just didn't quite have enough. So I frogged it. So I've still got all this yarn and I'm not sure. My question to you is, do you have any suggestions of what I could make? Having tried to use more than one of these in the same project and it not looking quite right, I don't think I want to use them all in one project. I think I want possibly to make the same project 3 times in this colour, the middle colour and this colour, or possibly different colours. But do you have any suggestions of projects I could make with 100 grams or 220 meters of DK yarn? I was wondering about socks, but I don't know if that socks are a bit maybe bed socks. It's but it's silk, and I don't know if this yarn's a bit delicate for that really, if you need something a bit more robust. It's not enough to make a shawl. Maybe it's enough to make a hat, but I don't know if I'd want one in those colours. So if you've got any suggestions of what I could make with this yarn, please do let me know, because it is gorgeous and I really would like to use it and make something with it. And also I might make another dragon belly short, because I wasn't really enjoying the pattern and it was really nice. I just need to do it with when I've got more of the yarn, more yarn to make it with. So that's the end of the crochet. I've got one knitting project to share with you, which is just a little update on some socks I'm making. So I finished the first sock a while ago and showed it to you, and then I had a bit of a break from this pattern and made a different pair of socks, which I showed you in the last podcast. These are the Autumn Berry socks by, I'll pop the link underneath, not the link, the name, because I can't remember the name of the designer, but it's in a book called The Sock Knitting Bible by Lynn Rowe, but the designer of these socks wasn't Lynn Rowe, Caitlin Barthold, something like that. So I've made one a while ago, and I have made a bit more progress on sock number 2, working down the leg, a few more rounds to go on the leg, and then I'll be doing the rest of it, obviously. And this is from Coop Knits. This colour is Socks Yeah yarn from Coop Knits in Topaz. So I'm using that for the cuff and the toe. And then this one is called Aubergine, and it's from Peak District Yarns. And I bought it when we were on holiday in the Peak District. Not this Easter just gone, but the one before that. So yeah, I've been working on this when we've been out and about in the car, mainly, I think. It's not the best sock knitting pattern for me to do in the car, because the lacy bit is actually a bit fiddly, and it's got these CDD, central double decrease stitches, where which I find I have to sort of concentrate and be quite careful with, so as not to drop stitches when I do them. And I have made a mistake. I have 2 stitches too few on this last round I've done, but I'm not quite sure. I think I must have missed doing some yarn overs at some point in the last round or so. But I'm not very good at undoing knitting. Crochet, it's easy, isn't it? You just pull the yarn and you don't have to worry about it all unraveling, but I'm not very good at going backwards with knitting. If there's an easy way, please let me know. But I think what I'm going to do is just in the next round do a couple of extra yarn overs to put in those missing stitches, and hopefully, well, I'm going to be the one wearing them, no one will notice. But yeah, so I'll probably work on those on and off over the summer and hopefully have them finished in the next month or 2. And then the very last thing I had to show you, I thought I'd just show you it in real life, as it were, is this yarn that I received. So I showed you, it's not going to be much difference to you, is it? Because I showed you a photo last time and now you're seeing it in live video instead. But I took part, as I just mentioned, in a sock along to make some shorty socks, which was hosted by Emma of Emma C Makes. And if you completed a pair of socks within the time of the knit along, you were entered into a draw to win a prize, and I was really lucky, as I said in my last episode, and I won a prize, which was this gorgeous yarn from Beehive Yarns. And last time I filmed, it hadn't quite arrived. I think it might have actually arrived that same day after I finished filming, but it has now arrived. Doesn't say, it hasn't got a name on the label. I'm not sure if it's got a name or not, this set, but this is my first ever actual sock set of like a main colour and then a small amount of a contrast colour. So I'm really looking forward to using this and making some socks with these 2 perfectly matched colours. So that's the end of the podcast for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about everything that I've been working on. Like I said, if you've got any suggestions for what I can do with that yarn that I've been making the dragon belly shawl with, please let me know, because I'd really like to make something special and beautiful with it to show off that yarn, but that with it only being quite a small amount of each colour, I'm at a bit of a loss to know what to make with it. And if you think it would be alright for socks, I'd be interested to hear as well, because I'd be a bit nervous about making socks and then them all just getting, I don't know, either fluffy or me wearing a hole in them or something. I'd only use them at home, padding around on the carpet, but still not sure. So yeah, if you've got any ideas, do let me know, or if you just want to say hi in the comments, that would be lovely as well. Let me know what you've been doing or working on while you've been watching. And yeah, have a really lovely few weeks until next time, and I'll see you all again really soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.